I'm May. I'm 28 years old, and I just went through the most heartbreaking experience. I just got divorced, and I need a place to vent about it. To start from the beginning, I had been single for most of my life. I never really thought I was one to be in a relationship because I was happy being independent. Plus, I had seen my friends and even my parents go through horrible breakups and divorces. I just didn't see the appeal of being with someone who could so easily break my heart and leave me alone. But all of that changed when I met my ex-husband, Nate. Nate and I had met through a mutual friend. While I had been single, that didn't mean that I was opposed to going on dates. I enjoyed meeting new people, but I was never interested in getting serious with anybody. When my friend set me up on a blind date with Nate, I was immediately taken away by him. He was really handsome. As our date continued, I liked him even more because he was so charming. We began meeting up a lot more, and before I knew it, I had gotten into my first relationship. Nate had been lovely. He was a computer engineer, and so he made a good amount of money. He was really good to me and made sure to always look after me. Before I knew it, I found myself falling deeply in love with him. After a year of dating, we decided to move in. I didn't think I could ever have been this happy, but I was glad I was. One night, the both of us were rudely awoken by a call at midnight. Nate groggily picked up the phone. His eyes widened as he listened to what the other person was telling him. He thanked the other person and cut the call. He turned to me and looked at me with shock. His face was pale. I was scared about what had happened, but I calmly asked him what had happened. "Baby, is everything okay? Who called?"
"The hospital."
"The hospital? Why? What happened?"
"It's my dad. He just had a massive heart attack."
"Oh my God, is he okay?"
"He's okay. They managed to save him just in time."
"Okay, thank God. I'm so glad to hear that."
"Yeah, me too."
"Honey, what's wrong?"
"It's just scary, you know? I almost lost him and I never even knew."
"I know, darling. It's all okay now. Tell you what, we can go visit him tomorrow at the hospital."
"Yeah, I would like that. Although..."
"Yeah?"
"Would it be okay if I met him by myself?"
"Oh."
"Yeah, it's just that my dad's never met you before and I doubt he'd want to meet my girlfriend while he's at the hospital. Maybe we could introduce you after he's out of the hospital?"
"Oh, of course. But you have to let me send some flowers on my behalf then."
"Of course. I think he'd like that."
The next few days, Nate took off from work and would frequently stay at the hospital with his dad. I would send flowers with him, and sometimes I would have him sneak in some snacks for his dad because Nate would tell me about how his dad always complained about the food at the hospital. Nate would always return home with thank you notes from his dad for me. Nate still looked upset, but with every day that passed, he began to feel better. Seeing his dad recovering so well lifted his spirits. I was there for him throughout it all, offering my silent support. I took care of everything around the house and made sure that Nate came back to a clean and warm home. Nate never expressly thanked me, but I knew that he was grateful for me being there by his side. Nate's dad was discharged after 3 weeks, and he was ordered to take another 3 months off for full recovery. Since he was still recovering, he was advised to have someone by his side at home. You see, his dad lived all alone because his mother had passed away when Nate was in high school. So on the day that Nate's dad was getting discharged over breakfast, Nate told me he had something to ask me.
"Babe, so you know my dad needs someone to supervise him while he's recovering for the next 3 months?"
"Yes?"
"Well, I was wondering if it would be okay for me to be by his side."
"Of course, honey. Why would I ever stop you from taking care of your dad?"
No, the whole thing just scared me. He's the only parent I have left."
"I know, honey. It's okay. Stay with him as long as you need to. Make sure he's in great health so we can meet him together."
"Actually, I was thinking maybe in the next week or so you can come to meet him."
"Oh, I thought your dad wouldn't want me to see him while he isn't doing well."
"Yeah, but you won him over during his stay at the hospital. He said he wanted to meet the lovely woman who always sent him his favourite chocolates."
"All right then, I can't wait to meet him." Nate spent the next week at his father's place. I spent the next week an anxious mess. I was nervous to meet Nate's dad. I knew that he already liked me, but meeting someone in person was different. I was worried he wouldn't like me, but there was only one way to find out. The next weekend, Nate came back and picked me up to take me to his dad's place. The entire way there, Nate assured me that his dad would love me. He told me he knew he would love me because he spent the entire week talking about how amazing I was, which made his dad even more excited to meet me. When I entered Nate's house, I was greeted by Nate's dad. Nate introduced us to each other.
Dad, this is May, my awesome girlfriend. Babe, this is my dad, Keith.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, May, I've heard so much about you. This one here wouldn't stop talking about you, I can see why. I'm doing good. Well, as good as you can do after a heart attack.
You don't look like you had a heart attack, that's for sure.
That's good to hear. I had an amazing son looking after me.
Yeah, I can see he nursed you right back to health really well.
Thank you so much for all the flowers and snacks, by the way. It really helped me get through my horrible stay at the hospital.
Oh, it was nothing. Nate cares about you a lot, and so I care for you.
I like you. You did a good job with this one, son. I told you.
The day I spent with Keith was nothing short of wonderful. We talked about a lot of things from Nate's childhood to my career. I went home that day feeling content. I would visit every weekend and spend those 2 days with them. I began to notice how Nate was becoming more tired with every visit I made, so one night I brought up something with him that had been weighing on my mind. Babe, I can't help but notice how you're really tired.
Yeah, I just have a lot on my plate right now. I have this big project at work, and taking care of my dad is equally tiring.
I don't want to intrude or anything, but I've been thinking, what if I stay over too? I mean, I work a lot less hours than you, and I could also work from home. You can focus on work, and I could take care of Keith.
Oh, baby, I don't know. Isn't that a bit too much for you to do?
No, never. I love you, and I love Keith too. I want to do this for both of you.
I can't lie, that would be amazing.
Great, it's settled. I'll come over tomorrow with all of my stuff. So for the remaining 1.5 months, I stayed with Keith and Nate. I worked from home and took care of Keith. Everything went smoothly, and pretty soon, Keith was more than healthy. He didn't need any of us there to help him anymore, so he told us to go back to living our regular lives. We did so with a lot of hesitation, but Keith assured us that he was fine. Shortly after that, Nate proposed to me. He told me that entire thing with his dad, and seeing how I helped out with no hesitation made him realize just how perfect I was. He told me that he wanted to marry me and spend the rest of his life with me. I obviously said yes, because I love this man with my entire soul. We spent the next few months busy planning our wedding. Keith was gracious enough to give us some money to help with the wedding expenses. We invited everyone that was close to us and their families. We wanted to spend our special day in the midst of all the people we loved and adored. The night before the wedding, Keith had invited us over to his place for dinner. After dinner, we sat in the living room, sipping wine, when Keith told us that he had something he wanted to tell us.
I have a little something to tell you guys. What is it? Is everything okay? Yeah. I had something to give you guys, now that you are getting married.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I had promised Nate that I would gift him a house when he got married. I wanted to tell you guys that I put in the paperwork today, and in a week's time the house should be in Nate's name.
Really?
Oh my God, Dad, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're amazing, Keith. Thank you so much.
Oh, hush, you two. You guys deserve it. It's the least I could do to thank you guys for everything you did for me.
You never need to thank us for anything. We love you and will be here for you through thick and thin.
Yeah, Dad, but seriously, thank you again.
On our way back home, Nate and I sat in the car with big wide grins on our faces. I was just glad that we would be able to save a lot more money and also add more to the honeymoon budget. I was grateful for Keith, and I couldn't help but be a little envious of how much Keith cared for Nate. I remember thinking that Nate was really lucky because my parents barely batted an eyelid at me when I told them I was getting married. As we were lying in bed that night, Nate and I were discussing the new house we were going to get. Your dad is literally an angel.
I know, I can't believe he actually came through with that promise.
I'm so excited to have a house of our own.
Yeah, my house is going to be amazing. I can't wait to decorate it however I want to.
Oh, and also the money we'll save on rent is a big plus.
Definitely. I can't wait to get married to you, baby.
Same, my love. Tomorrow's going to be very hectic and tiring.
But it's all worth it in the end. Especially when we'll be able to move into my house.
Yeah.
Let's get some rest. Tomorrow's our big day. Good night, my love.
Nick turned out the light and turned to fall asleep, but I couldn't sleep. I was a little upset that he was referring to the house as solely his house. I mean, I knew that Keith had gifted it to him, but would it hurt to call it our house? I would be living there with him too. Would this be an issue later on? I decided that Nate must have been really excited about getting a house, and maybe that's what made him refer to it as just his house. I let that thought comfort me and fell asleep. The wedding was amazing. Nate and I cried as we exchanged vows, and then we spent the rest of the night drinking, dancing, and laughing with our friends and family. I don't think it's necessary to say that when we got back home we were dead tired. The next day we put in our week's notice and began slowly moving into our new place. The new house was gorgeous. It had 3 bedrooms and 2 offices. We slowly moved in and began planning how to decorate everything. The following week was tiring because all we did was move things and rearrange the house. We went to many home stores to purchase things for the house. While I wanted to be happy about it, Nate never let me make a decision about the house. He would overrule all of my ideas. I wanted our home to be a reflection of both of us, but it was turning into a reflection of only Nate. I was hurt and confused. Instead of letting go of it this time, I asked Nate about it. Babe, could you let me have a little say in how we decorate our home?
Our? It's my home. I get to decide what goes where.
I'm your wife. I'm living with you. Don't you think I deserve some say?
Is your name on the house? You don't get a say in anything.
That's really unfair. Keith gave it to us as a wedding gift.
My God, do you not get it? He gave it to me.
He promised it to me. You should be grateful I'm letting you stay here.
Grateful?
I'm your wife. I'm obviously going to be living with you. Do you not understand how marriages work?
You know what? I've had enough. Get out of this house. I don't want to live with you. I worked hard to get Dad to give me this house.
You can't be serious.
I am. Get out.
I stared at him in shock. Nate went into the bedroom and packed a bag for me. He told me he'd have the rest of my stuff sent to wherever I was staying. I didn't know where to go. I had no family in my state. My friends had their own families and I didn't want to intrude, so I went to the one place that came to my mind, Keith's house. When I arrived there, I looked an absolute mess. I had cried so much that my eyes were red and swollen. My hair was a mess, and I was still in the clothes that I was in when we were painting the living room. Keith took one look at me and ushered me into the house quickly.
May, what happened? Are you okay? Is Nate okay?
Nate, he threw me out of the house.
What? What do you mean?
He kept referring to it as his house. He said because it's his name on the paper, he gets to decide everything about it. He wouldn't let me even design my office.
What the hell?
Yeah, he told me that he worked hard to get you to give him the house.
Oh, I see this is what he was up to.
What do you mean?
The entire time I was in hospital, he was taking care of me at home. He kept asking me to gift him a house because he'd always wanted one. He told me that he didn't care about his inheritance because all he wanted was a house. I got so tired of it that I told him that I would give him his house when he got married.
Oh my God. That's so horrible of him. How could he worry about something as stupid as a house when his father was sick?
If I knew this was how he was going to be, I never would have given him that house. I'm so sorry I did this to you, dear.
No, please don't apologize. You did nothing wrong, Keith. I'm sorry that Nate treated you so horribly, and I couldn't do anything.
Why don't we both get some rest for tonight? We'll discuss things more tomorrow. You can take the guest bedroom. We'll make things right. I promise.
I spent the night at Keith's place. I was hurting so much from Nate's actions. Is that all I was to Nate? A way to get a house? Did I not mean anything else to him? It had only been a week since we got married, and here I was, already knowing that I was going to have to get a divorce. I was upset that the one person I had loved had let me down so badly. I don't know how, but I did manage to fall asleep after crying for hours. The next day I went to work, and during the break, contacted one of my friends. I told her about everything that happened. She was furious with me. She told me not to worry about anything, and told me that she had an extra flat that I could stay in until I found a place of my own. I thanked her profusely. When I went back to Keith's place, I told him of my new place. Keith tried to get me to stay, but I told him that I didn't want to impose myself and that I needed some distance from things that reminded me of Nate. Keith looked sad, but told me he understood. He promised me once again that he would make things right for me. True to his word, Keith called me the next night.
Hi, May. How are you holding up?
Okay, I guess.
I have some wonderful news for you.
Oh? What is it?
I'm gifting the house I gave to Nate to you.
What? What do you mean? How did you even do that?
Well, I had given him the house with the clause that the house was being gifted to him because my health wasn't doing good. The clause let me rescind the gift any time I wanted, so I did that. Now I gifted you the house without that clause. The house is fully yours, May.
Why did you do that for me?
I couldn't stand by what my son did to you. You are such a wonderful person. I wanted to do the right thing, and I know that this is the right thing. My son isn't going to be welcome in my house either. He can struggle the way he made you struggle.
Thank you so much, Keith. I'm sorry that Nate turned out to be horrible.
I have no one to blame but myself. Maybe if I had raised him better—
No! You are an amazing person. You raised him well. He just turned out bad because he decided to be bad.
You're right. Go ahead and tell him the news. Make sure to serve him an eviction notice. Give him hell.
That I will. Keith and I didn't tell Nate about the change in the house's ownership. Within the next week, the house's name was transferred to mine. I got the eviction notice ready and delivered it to Nate. I had given him 2 weeks to move out, and if he didn't, I'd have him forcefully evicted. Along with the eviction notice, I also sent him divorce papers. Nate called me screaming.
Who do you think you are sending me an eviction notice?
I also sent you divorce papers, Nate.
I don't give a crap about that. What's the deal with the eviction notice?
It really didn't matter to you. Was that just some way to get a house?
Of course, you're so weird and definitely not my type. I'd been asking my dad for a house for years. His heart attack was the perfect time to bug him into it. When he told me that I needed to get married, I didn't care who I was going to marry. I just wanted my house. I'm sure as hell never letting you take it away from me.
Keith changed the names on the house. He hated the way you treated me. He's disappointed in you and he wanted to make things right for me.
No way. There's no way he could do that.
Yes, he could. He had a special clause put in the documents that allowed him to rescind his gift any time. I want you out of my house in 2 weeks, Nate.
You thief! You stole my house!
I didn't steal anything, Nate. I was given the house and I'm graciously accepting it. I'll be there in 2 weeks. I better not see you there. Sign the divorce papers and get out of my life. I was glad we had signed the prenup and that it hadn't been long since we had gotten married. I was hurt by the way that Nate treated me. But I knew that I was stronger than that. I distracted myself by planning out how I was going to design my new home. When I went over in 2 weeks, Nate wasn't there. I half expected him to be there to beg me to take him back, but I was glad he wasn't. The house was empty, and I was excited to start decorating it. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm slowly but surely turning this house into my home. Every day the memories of what Nate did to me haunt me, but I'm learning to overcome them. Every other weekend, Keith and I have dinner at my place. From what I heard, Nate had called Keith to chew him out of taking away his gift, but Keith told him that he had to face the consequences of his actions. Every day I'm learning and growing from the hurt. I have everything I need, and I know that with time, this will all just be a funny story for me to tell at parties. For now, I'm going to keep working towards making this house my safe space and taking care of Keith. Thank you for listening.